Malarndirri about this COVID outbreak we're seeing.
Do I just look at you?
Yeah. A case in Robinson River, which is obviously close to your country. How concerned are you about this situation?
Oh, it's important, Matt, that people vaccinate, across the Northern Territory and indeed right across Australia. It's a message that I've certainly been encouraging as I've travelled over 3,000 to 4,000 kilometres driving through the Tanami Desert, down Papunya, Santa Teresa and up the Short Highway. I'd like to certainly say to families in Robinson River and Borroloola that, to get yourselves tested with the teams that are out there and to make sure that you look out for one another. I'd like to say a personal message, and that is that to my sister, who is the source of the COVID infection in Robinson River, that our thoughts and prayers are with her and our family. To my uncle and aunties and cousins who've been flown in from Katherine, who are in Howard Springs, to stay strong. Proud of you that you're double vaxxed. Proud of you that you're there and you're in safe hands. But I would say, Matt, that the messages by people across Australia, negative messages in terms of social media that have discouraged people, in particular First Nations people, from vaccinating is completely disgraceful. It doesn't help. It never has helped. And I would certainly encourage people to not listen to those messages, as I have been since this pandemic began.
So I wasn't aware that it was your sister. Obviously our thoughts are with all of you, but have you been able to speak to her, and how is she?
Look, I have spoken to the nurse in Robinson River, and that was yesterday. Clearly the nurse was also in a COVID room, and it was difficult to speak directly to my sister at the time. I'm hoping I can do that today.
Senator, what's overcrowding like in that community, and what is the government bringing to deal with that?
Look, this is another indication of the incredible challenges for First Nations people across Australia, not just here in the Northern Territory, but we have 10 to 12 people to a house. We have people who have 20 people to a house. And the absolute urgency that must be placed on housing, and housing for remote homelands and outstations with the federal government to come to the party on this. This is a serious matter. This is a case of life and death here. And unless families have an ability to be able to isolate in their own home, how can they when you have 15 to 20 people in a house, which is the case of my families who've been flown in.
So do you think special accommodation needs to be organised so people can isolate?
Well, I think that's a no-brainer, really. I mean, this is something that we've been talking about. Federal Labor has been pushing the federal government on, the Aboriginal Affairs Minister nationally on. I've been calling on the Department of Health in terms of communications, what kind of communications they've been doing to encourage First Nations people to vaccinate as soon as possible. This was back in February. I was calling on them to do this. And I'm just absolutely devastated to see what's going on now. But there is such a greater urgency to keep encouraging people that you must vaccinate.